Hello and welcome to the Tremendously Awkward Podcast. I'm Dan Barry.
And I'm Josh Barnett.
And with us is Bill Carr. Bill, how you doing?
It's been great. I managed to finally extract that oddly shaped object out of my ass, and I've been feeling so much better.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great to hear.
The amount of determination that you needed to get it in there is something that we'll all stand behind.
Well, if you know one thing about me, it's that I'm not a quitter.
That's all I want to hear is we're more surprised because your ass is so small that one would wonder how you got anything in there.
Yeah, well, it's not just about size all the time. In fact, you can be small and mighty. So when I deadlift, I'm not trying to
you hear that,
a
ladies?
Particular amount of mass. I'm just trying to, really strengthen those muscles in there, tighten up those sinews. So it's just like a piece of cabled steel.
Yeah.
But, doesn't have to be particularly large.
Bill's just all about tendon strength around his butt. Anywho.
Yeah.
Josh, how you been, man?
I live in large.
I can see that. I have last time we spoke. When was this? It was probably when I was not spoke, but last time we.
Yeah, well, that would have been one of those high spots gimmicks that you did.
Yeah.
In a nondescript, hotel near the airport where people usually go to take their prostitutes.
Right.
Oh, that's good.
100%. Were you there when there was the family fighting over the keys to the apartment, or not family, but prostitute and John fighting over?
I heard the story, but I wasn't there.
Oh yeah.
I would have had to have taken a side.
We just sat there in awe, and two wrestlers who are currently signed, who I will not mention, were very high, and they were very uncomfortable.
Pretty sure that was John Cena.
Yeah, it was John
Cena.
Yeah, and the Big Show, which is hanging out.
Wanting to sit down with Dan Barry.
Yeah, they really were like, we want to be in on this, but we're really high. And I was like, it's all right, Paul. I just realized both names were Paul as I was saying that, so I feel like a dick now. But whatever. Anyway,
that's okay.
Josh, you just came up a successful weekend of Bloodsport. How you feeling, man?
Good. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I feel like the show was a fantastic presentation, production, and all that kind of stuff. I felt like everything came together to deliver the aesthetic that we wanted for the product, and then the athletes themselves. I mean, they just showed up, man, like nobody's business, and it was fantastic.
It felt like, from pictures I saw, it felt like it was better than that. Just understand, but it felt like.
Pictures?
I meant, what's that?
You can't even reference GIFs.
No, because I don't have.
You watch it, Dan?
No, I didn't. I don't have anything. I have no access to anything. Josh, I'm sorry.
Fucking believable.
You know what? My grandfather's dying, and I'm trying to get him a hospital bed. So if you guys want to make me feel bad about that,
you know what'll make your grandfather feel a whole lot better? Probably Josh Barnett's Bloodsport.
That's true. I was trying to get him to watch the show, but it was a lot. Walking 100 feet is a big deal for him. So,
well, he could at least sit there and be like, "Look at these young wimps in my era." Yeah, they're probably doing it sober. Best of luck to your granddad, though.
Right.
I mean, whatever you do, keep the morale up. Keep the morale up. Make him feel strong. Think strong.
He's a good man. World War II vet, strong man, good dude. Probably one of the best people I ever met. And I mean that like just not because he's my grandfather, whatever. But anywho, that's why I didn't watch it. Sorry, I will catch up. But the venue itself, right? The way it was lit, I felt very like Rocky versus Apollo Creed at the end of Rocky 3, where like if nobody was there, it's just two pros going out to see who'd be better. And that's why when you said like I want to fight you, to me, Josh, I was like, let's do that because that's what it reminded me of. Because I was like, hell yeah, like no cameras, fuck it, like let's.
You're just hoping for the freeze frame. Southpaw to orthodox punch thing, and then
it'll be the last thing I remember from your punch. So I'll be like, and that's what we freeze framed, and that was it.
Before we even get into Bloodsport, why don't we tell this? Why don't you mostly tell the story? Bill, were you even ringside when this happened?
What's this?
Well, so I'm in there. I'm working with my student, and Dan's sitting over there stretching. but he all of a sudden stopped really stretching and is more just fucking rubbernecking the whole thing.
Because it was interesting.
And then eventually he just goes, was it you or was it me that I think I walked over and I said, come on.
I went, no, here's exactly what happened.
This is in Buffalo, right?
Buffalo.
That's right.
And he was rolling with Thatcher.
Once this happened, I was like, oh no, this is not going to end well.
So let's start with the precursor of this. I had met you once, and that was at PWG when me and Bill did our match where I ran on my knees, and then we're sitting there watching you, and I'm laughing. It's like, Barnett thinks this is the biggest piece of shit he's ever seen in his life.
It was hilarious. It was a comedy match. I mean, that's the thing about wrestling. If I show up to watch comedy and I'm not there to watch like wrestling, but I'm there to watch, then you guys were doing that. It was you and Silver was in the match, and you guys did a bunch of like really brilliant, funny, like well constructed. I mean, it's like watching people that. Of the earlier era when they're constructing bits and stuff like that. It's really engaging. It's in the middle of an audience in this combat scenario of the ring, but it was awesome.
Thank you. We appreciate that, because I can tell you when I was on the ring, I think I whispered to Bill, I'm like, man, Barnett fucking hates this. And like, I remember.
Well, I remember seeing a picture during that match of you, and you had a big smile and you were laughing hysterically. So I was like, okay, this is good. I
might have had a pair of sunglasses on my face that I was gifted, but made this little guy's night.
Yeah, that's what Chris Hero said. Made that little fan so happy or something like that. Like a little boy's dream just came true. It was you, Bill, putting the sunglasses on you. Oh, so good. Anyway, so that was the only time I'd ever met you. It was very brief, but it was fine. So I see you're on the show. I say hello to you. I'm watching you roll with Thatcher. I'm like, man, that's cool, man. And like a lot of people don't know this, but like that's the style of wrestling I've always enjoyed. I am much more Malenko, Nagata, and William Regal than I am like goofy funny. I love that wrestling. So I was watching you go. I was like, this is really interesting to watch. And then I started stretching again. I gave you like a nod, but it was more like a how's it going, man? And I started stretching. And then I looked up, and you were already in what I call the Stu Hart pose, where like your hands, like you were in that grappler's position, and you started moving towards me. I'm like, ah, shit, here we go. And I'm wearing my shitty Hawaiian shirt, for the record. Like, oh boy, here we go. And we just started rolling around. And I think I surprised you. I remember there's only one moment that really surprised you. And it was you ended up being a bottom wrist lock, and I rolled through and I tripped you with my feet, and you didn't expect it. And you went, oh shit. And you fell back, and I was like, haha. And then you let me get every other opening after that. But it was very fun to roll around the ring with you. But I was pleasantly surprised that you didn't, and not because of anything other than like, I felt like you'd want to test me to be like, does this fucking guy actually know how to wrestle? And I felt like that was what I was going in for. I was like, all right, well, here we go. I was scared shitless.
From my perspective, I was just thinking like, oh, okay, I just want to see what he does. What are his instincts? What does he want to do? What I'll give him a little predicament and see how does he get himself out of it, what's he do with it, and just play around just to see what's what. And we just chain wrestle a bit and go out there and roll around, and then it's like, all right. And I think you're like, no, I can actually wrestle. I know what and I go, well, cool. I love it. I'm into it.
I feel like I had to defend myself because I don't know. I'll put it in perspective of like a Jim Cornette. Like if Jim Cornette watched me wrestle and then he was like, that fucking guy sucks. Like I would be like, well, yeah, but I could stretch like half of your friends. Like I know I can. Like, but it doesn't matter. It's still like it's the goofy guy in the t-shirt. And I want to know, and I want an honest assessment. Bill's here. You have to be honest with Bill. Was I better than you expected? Good for who I am, or like you're fine? And I honestly, I want to know 100% sincerity. I want to know what you think.
No, to be honest, I didn't have any expectations. I just wanted to just let you show me who you were. And I thought that you presented yourself very well. Obviously, if we go back to this constant dialogue, which isn't a gimmick or a joke, enough that I was like, no, yeah, I totally would want to wrestle you. Totally would love to just wrestle you in a singles match and just do it like we mean it. And I think it'd be fun.
I agree. After that roll around, I was like, this would be fun. That's the only that became my thing. I also want to see you versus Bill because I feel like it'd be a totally different animal. And also,
Hoss
I want to
fight.
see you.
Hoss
Yeah, I want to
fight.
see you toss Bill at least twice.
Yeah. Yeah, that was probably my what was running through my head. It was like, if I'm next, I'm more of a puncher than a wrestler, so this is a losing battle for me if I go in there and strike with you. So
You're throwing those Ray Trailer rights. You're not throwing those fucking palm strike. You got the big swing on you.
But I did make it to section finals my senior year of high school, so there it is.
Nice. Well, I mean, that's the thing is that's the kind of skills that I would even say, like, if you just are on the mats doing some amateur wrestling work, just for the conditioning of it and just to stay in step with the movements, when you're in a professional wrestling ring, you're not really gonna find yourself in any bad spots potentially because the whole point of just wrestling, amateur wrestling, let's say in this case, is control of your opponent and using levers and weight transfer and off balancing. And so if you're really competent and adept at that and you're just staying in that practice, then it's going to be so much easier to throw, be thrown, and adjust and control. And if you get a hold of someone, they're going the wrong direction, you can navigate them back to where you need to go, or you can extend things out longer than normal because you're not waiting for somebody to hit the next cue. You're just like, well, at some point, maybe, I'm going to want them to actually get away from me, but not yet, because maybe you hear that the crowd is still getting into it. So you just stay riding them a little bit. You let them hit a sit out, but then you do a suck back and get a little near fall and let them get back over. All you're doing is just amateur wrestling. And then the other thing about it is that amateur wrestling is so great for your conditioning that if you're, and this is why I'm always, in fact, a few people, Simon Grimm and other folks will often echo, people come out and they're like, oh, I want to go to a wrestling school. He's like, just get in a gym, get in an MMA gym, get in somewhere, because if you're training at least half as hard as they are, you'll be in pretty phenomenal shape to get in a pro wrestling ring, especially an indie ring, because you don't know what grab bag you're going to come across depending on where you're at. And if you're in good shape, you're safer. You're safer than anybody else, because when you're in good shape, not only can you adjust and take bumps and anything that's going on better, but you're way better at controlling that other person. And you want to put together that crazy 30-minute match where you get to the end and you have some real, falsies and you go to these big, huge moments. Well, if you're not so blown up that you're dangerous, you're not going to let go or slip the head that you needed to protect or anything like that, then you're going to make sure that these people take all these spills in a way that doesn't allow them to get hurt.
I think my big thing is I like so I like matches wherein a lot of the amateur wrestling kind of comes out, and I like some of the matches where submission holds and reversing of submission holds, and it's just it's gonna sound like this is a terrible way to describe it, but it's like masturbatory wrestling where like I'm doing this for me. Like I don't like if I wrestled, the reason I said if I wrestled you, I'd want it to be like a Rocky Apollo Creed thing is because at the end of the day, like I'd rather just the match. I don't need the world to see me and you being like, I'll see you in the ring, and then whatever happens. Like that's the way I'd want to do that, because it's just such a good test of skill. Is Bloodsport much more of the we're going to let wrestlers wrestle, or do you feel it has like a mix of like we're planning out spots at the same time?
I would say that there's a mix of it, but the more people are in Bloodsport, the less it is pre-planned, programmed. I mean, it really people start to get familiarity with opponents, but also they start to get familiarity with even, I would say, themselves. So they take this deep introspective existential journey, and they arrive at this location with all this newfound fulfillment or something like that.
I'm hoping
but in any case, but people get more used to the idea of that. And if you and I get in the ring, I'm not calling any spots.
No, I don't
see
want
you out in the ring. That's just what I do. I don't structure these things. I just wrestle. And people watch Suzuki and they're like, it's crazy. I go, I didn't call anything. I mean, maybe a little thing on the fly here and there, but otherwise, we just said, how's life? And then I'm going to go warm up. I'll see you in a bit. That was it. And I feel like that way you can be as invested in the moment and reading your opponent and reading the audience and reading anything that exists out in that environment. And then you can make your audibles from there, or what have you. But I'm in it, right? Mentally and physically, I am fully committed, and my intent is true. Whereas a lot of folks get in there with one of the downsides of the structured, the completely plotted out match is that you see that they're looking for that next line of dialogue that they're supposed to speak instead of having a conversation.
Yeah.
They're not listening, they're just waiting. They heard the end of the sentence, and now they're going to put theirs in.
I want to eat popcorn and watch you and Bill wrestle while death metal plays in the background, and I want to know how, because that's I think the kicker is I feel like you guys are like, oh yeah, we'll have a really strong hospital, and then I just play. I'm gonna pull nothing out of my ass because I can't pretend that I'm on the same level of death metal as you guys, but I'll pull something out, and you guys will stop and your eyes will get wide and you start throwing bombs.
Either that, or we'll just start talking about which album we like best. Oh, this is the one where they changed the drummer, isn't it? Yeah. Oh yeah.
But you know what? Another thing, going back to being in shape. I always say the best shape that you can possibly be in is from amateur wrestling, but also lasting an entire festival in a mosh pit.
Oh yeah, that's good shape.
From start to finish. I think that is a phenomenal form of cardio, and it's also fun. And you get to beat the shit out of people.
I agree.
I've seen Bill go into a pit. Who was playing at the time, Bill? Was that Mastodon at that point, or was that Every Time I Die?
I don't know.
Brooklyn. We went to see Every Time I Die in Brooklyn. Who they open with? It was them.
They opened for Mastodon and Coheed and Cambria.
Yeah. So I think it was Mastodon. You went into the pit, and watching people clear way for Bill, and then getting the fuck out of the pit is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Josh, can you echo that sentiment, or people just kind of look at you and go, "Fuck yeah, we're brawling with Josh Barnett"?
A little of both. I've had a lot of people be like, "Holy fuck, it's you," and then be stoked that they're in the pit with me. And I'll go around, grab a kid in the pit, throw my arm around, we'll headbang together, whatever. I'm picking people up. But I remember one time I was at a show with some friends, and we're at the observatory in Santa Ana.
Was it Triple H? Yeah.
It wasn't Triple H.
Oh.
And so I'm standing at the top of this little area where the stairs lead up out of the pit into more the this sort of GA whatever seating. And my buddy Rob Dukes is a singer for Exodus at the time, and he sees me up there and he's like, "Oh, I see you, motherfucker, get in the fucking pit." And he just basically calls me out. So I'm like, oh shit. So I had to go down there, and then I'm spinning around doing the deal, flattening some people out with the shiver. And he calls, we go into War Is My Shepherd. He wants to do a fucking wall of death. And so I end up just firing people up, screaming who wants to live forever? And it's shoving each side apart and creating this helping create this wall of death. And I just stood in the center of it, and then they just crashed onto me, and then we just went nuts.
That's awesome. I love that. I love it. Exodus, I think it was Exodus and Testament. Those are two of the best pits I've ever been in. It was the same bill, but those are two of the best pits that I've ever been in.
I smoked weed at a Cypress Hill concert once. That's all I got. That's all I got, guys. I'm not overtly violent. My favorite was, what was it? It was we were going to that Every Time I Die concert, and Bill was there, and I was playing Cat Stevens as I pulled up. Really? Father and Son's a real great song. It makes me cry. Fuck you.
Well, whenever we get in the ring, I have the ultimate finisher for you, Dan.
What's that?
It's just Fiji Jameson and Coke, Diet Coke, until you just can't go anymore.
Oh no. My birthday's on Friday, and somebody I work with sent me a giant bottle of Jameson and was like, "Enjoy the weekend." I'm like, what do you think I do?
You know what though? You kept it together. You did. You kept it together. In fact,
to an extent.
And I can say for the record that Dan Barry is not a mean drunk at all. In fact,
I'm a loving drunk.
Oh God, this guy, he's full of so much love. Like the smile cannot be erased from his face after you get enough, what is it? The water of life.
Yeah, that's right. You can't. You give me a triple distilled heaven. That's it. I'm a lover. Bill is a much more suicidal drunk.
Oh yeah, of course. That's a given.
We drank around Epcot, the entire world, and then Bill tried to grab the steering wheel of the car while I was driving home to try and crash the car. So we don't do that anymore.
I just remember the amount of chicken wings we ate was almost
Dude, my lord. That was one of the best that was like one of the best wrestling experiences I had, was that first time in Buffalo. Like 100%.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Just
all of us,
everything.
Andy, Brody King. Yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah. Brody King, my first time really hanging out with Brody King, like my first time ever really hanging out with you, like first time really hanging out with Thatcher. Like it was just like everyone was in their environment. It was a great time. I was an NPC in your life. I was I was just following you where you went throughout the entire thing. But it was so much fun. It was just,
is there any, I don't know, perspective from that's like, I don't know. It's funny because Andy will tell us. I get a story relayed back to me of that Andy has told about being places with me, and he's like, and then Barnett just did this and he did that and he did, and like, what the fuck? And I'm like, I don't think I did anything that particularly egregious or noteworthy. But
do you remember the Techno Viking?
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
So there's a moment before the Techno Viking video where he stops something, he points, and then he starts walking, and then a parade starts behind him. That was essentially what happened that night. Like without any fail. You talked to somebody. This is how I remember. We were sitting in a bar. You talked to some fan who was talking to you. You then pointed at the band, be like, I love this band. And then we just walked and we went to a different bar inside the same venue. And that's what I remember about that night. It was just like music bumping and then you just walking through things and people just kind of splitting the ways. And then the second favorite thing about that night was, if it was me or I forget who it was. I think it was me. I was like, you could take everyone in this pit right now. Like if you went out there, there isn't a single person you couldn't beat up. And you got like real quiet and you like nodded. And then like 4 minutes went past and you went up to me like, pick the best 5. And I went, what? And I was like, oh my God, he is this entire room like Jason fucking Bourne. And just being like, pick the best 5. I was blown away by that moment. I was the happiest I'd ever been.
Oh yeah, that sounds like something that would happen. and Thatcher was there the whole time, just
yes, sir, yes, Mr. Burnett.
Yes, yeah.
He's another big metal guy too, and
he's a big metal guy.
Yeah,
he's a big metal guy, not a big technology guy, but a big metal guy.
Not a technology guy, no. He is a Luddite and not abashed about it at all.
Only person you have to mail a letter to book.
Yeah. I think he still owns a prepaid Nokia. I think it's his bold choice.
Yeah, whenever he's at a store, he just whips out his abacus. All right, and he pulls out a cord with a bunch of coins on it.
He has like the little chicking. I worked with Amish people. I used to be a television producer, and I worked with Amish people on the
Wait, hold on. How do you work with the Amish when you're a television producer? You're like, come over here, and they're like, keep that demon box away from me.
Because the Amish are fucking hypocrites, and I can talk to you about that a little bit more in a little bit. But right. So what happened was I was working on a show where people were drilling for oil, and basically one of the Amish people they believed had oil on his property. And so he was like, yeah, you can drill on my property if I get the oil rights. And they were like, yeah, like we'll give you 2/3 of the oil rights to the property if we hit oil. He goes, okay. So we drill in, but to reach this guy, we had to call a phone of a guy who lived in the town to have him answer it, go get the Amish guy. That Amish guy would give him an answer. He'd come back, he'd call me and say yes or no, for example. And that's how I picture communicating Tim Thatcher to me. There's a man in his village whose job it is to answer the phone for Tim Thatcher. By the way, it's his village. It's village.
I just would think like carrier pigeon, Like it just shows up, and then one day you don't even get a response. It's just like he's like, I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, he just if the pigeon doesn't come back, he ate it and he's coming to the show.
He's got to feel all those muscles.
Yeah, I mean, he's another person like tensile strength. Like he's not like a big dude. He is a big dude, like compared to like the average human. But like
he's not Bill big.
No, nobody's Bill big.
The biggest man of all time.
That's right.
biggest big man ever.
Biggest goddamn Bill. Paul White, suck a butt. Bill Carr's goddamn. But yeah, no, he's just but he's a dude that you feel like if a car was in his way when he was walking forward, he wouldn't walk around the car. Like that's what I would picture.
Yeah, you know, Thatcher's an interesting one because he's such a pleasant, non-confrontational.
Sweetest.
He's like, you know, I'm okay, but he gives me the vibe of the kind of person where if you legitimately really try to push him in a certain way, he'd be like, that's never gonna fucking happen, and I'm gonna destroy you.
I've seen him mad once, and it was about.
Oh, really?
It was just talking about wrestling, and he got heated about like this. One of the topics was about wrestling. He was just hated on like these fucking people who go out there and like kill themselves and aren't ready to do anything. They're not wrestlers, and he got like really like you could see he was getting like real hot, and I was like, whoa, oh boy, I better take this Hawaiian shirt off. He's gonna fucking kill me. like he could snap my neck, and his heart rate wouldn't increase a beat. Like that's the truth.
I remember him and Kratos came down, and they were going to be in town. I said, well, it's during one of my fight camps, so I'll need you guys to join in. And they showed up, and they're just like, what are we going to do? Seriously. And I go, just trust me. And so I had them rotated in. Like at least one of the things was Hammer was part of running the sparring. So Hammer would come in, we go live, full MMA for like 2 or 3 minutes. And then it'd be like, okay, out of a 5-minute round, then at that 3-minute mark, boom, Thatcher, you're on top. Josh has to be on bottom. Go attack him, punch him, and just try to submit him and keep him from getting up. And if he gets up, I'll just go right back down again. Or it would be Kratos, pin him into the fence and don't let him off. Try to take him down and hold him. And it was just, you know, of course, I would fuck him up. But at the same time, I was like, you guys are going to be all right. I mean, you know more than you think you do. And every day, those dudes were on the mats, made to hit pads, on the bags, like just in it, like as a part of fight camp.
Your training sounds like my actual nightmares. Hey, incredibly big guys are gonna hold you down. You have to get up. Oh, I'm just gonna live here now. I'm a human slug. Just never move.
Well, you know, but this kind of training does pay off for those that end up being in Bloodsport, especially because I want that intensity. I want that. I don't want things to seem as if there's ever like a real break from what's going on, you know, and with that overall point being like, we're here to win, we're here to fight, and we're here to win. That's what we're here for. And by doing that, we will show the best of ourselves.
I think it's a cool, I like Bloodsport. I like the whole concept of it.
I love it.
It's fun. I have to watch the last one. I'm very sorry. I'm sorry I didn't see it, but I like the whole concept. I like pure wrestling. It's one of my favorite things. And while we're on Bloodsport, I have a couple of questions from fans on Twitter. By fans, I mean maybe 5. So don't worry.
That's okay.
When are we going to see Dan Barry versus Bill Carr?
The same fan with 5 questions. That's what it is.
Yeah. It's actually my aunt. When are we going to see Dan Barry versus Bill Carr in Bloodsport?
Okay. Well, I mean, could be
That's
a
fair
ring.
question. I can tell you it's not a good question.
On to the next.
me versus Bill has happened once, and it was just a death match. So I mean, at some point, if you had to book Bill and Dan for Bloodsport, who would you have them compete against? Rule: it can't be against each other.
It's all going to be Bill and Dan Bloodsport play. Okay, well, I will have Bill versus Andy Williams.
Ooh.
And I will have Dan versus, yeah, you know what? You and Simon Grimm could have a good go, I bet.
I think so. I've seen him wrestle, and I actually like a lot of what he does. I think that'd be a really good match.
Yeah,
I don't know if he would think that.
Either that or I bet. Look, if you move. If you get out there and you get with him the way that you were with me, he would love it. He would be all about it. Like if the thing about Simon is that, look, if you show up and you just fucking you get in there and just lock up and go for it,
Yeah,
he's down. He loves it. If there's anything bullshit about it, he's just like, oh fuck this, now what?
yeah. I'm of the mindset that I originally, when I had talked to you about it, if I wrestled you, I wanted to be in my full wrestling like Hawaiian shirt gear because I thought the juxtaposition would be interesting. I don't want to do that anymore. I just want to wrestle because I think I'm done being funny because I don't think cops are funny anymore. So I'm just gonna move past that. And we're just gonna be serious wrestlers because that's way better and a lot less concerning. But I would love that. And I have one more question, and it's from Alex Shelley.
Mhm.
He says, "How do I get booked for Bloodsport?"
Oh wait, this is the Alex Shelley.
This is
the
Alex
Motor City
Shelley, like
Machine Gun.
actual Alex Shelley. And I said it's against me, and he said yes, will do. So,
Okay.
There it
Well,
is.
I mean, carrier pigeon's a way to start.
yeah, I got a carrier pigeon ready. It's not really a carrier pigeon; it's an unladen swallow. It's a Monty Python reference, and nobody.
Yes, a European. What is the
African or
what was it?
European? I don't know.
Oh! I mean, all right. Well, I'll take a look. Not that I'm not familiar with Alex Shelley. I mean, I've actually called Alex in New Japan Pro Wrestling before with him and it's Kushida, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
He's a good talent. Yeah, if you never book me, Alex Shelley, if he wants to do Bloodsport, it's like fucking him and Gresham would be sick if you could do that. I don't know if you could do Gresham actually anymore. But
I don't know either. I mean, there's always we are an indie show. I mean, I know that the presentation I feel of these next two shows is not indie level. What you're, and we spent a lot of time, a lot of effort, money into making it look the way that we did, but we are very I mean, if I want to get super cliche about it, like we're blessed, we're super blessed, but we're very fortunate to have some really killer people working with us, like the group 5B Artist Management and people associated with that who've stepped in have done a fantastic job of working with GCW and myself, and then everybody who shows up, it's a community project. Everybody puts in on it, and be it from being in the ring and everything else. I sweep the damn venue when it's done. Like, we make sure that we get it done, and that not only do we present the best product that we can present, but that also wherever we go, people want to have us come back. It's our reputation, and our reputation as a wrestling company doesn't just extend to the product that goes on air. It extends to how we take care of business and how we do business with other people, and even how I try and deal with the wrestlers. Because I know that this indie environment can be really nasty, and wrestling has always been tough. Fighting has a really ugly side to it too, and so I'd rather that people walk away from being at Bloodsport with feeling that they were appreciated, that they got, not only did they get their money's worth from them putting their efforts into it, but that they were respected, that they were treated like adults, that they were paid properly, that they were taken care of, and that's that.
is there the next kind of questions are all the next questions I got from fans are not related to Bloodsport at all. But is there something that you wish you could do right now that you can't do? Removing the idea of fans, because fans obviously are the things that everyone wants to wrestle in front of. Is there something that you wish Bloodsport could do now that it can't, but you hope to be able to do in the future?
Well, I would love for us to get to the point where we're doing enough business that we can maybe start pre-planning a schedule for the year, and then with that schedule, and if we're doing that well, then I could even come up with some small contracts for wrestlers to say, like, hey, we will put you under some sort of contract so that that you're coming back, that work is coming to you, that we can kind of build on things a little more. Not that we want to go full deep dramatic storylines, but at least know that we can start something and we can finish something. And because it's always, trying to explain to some people from the outside and go, oh, well, get this guy and that guy. And you could just, I go, hold on, even if people are willing and wanting and we can afford them, there's no guarantee. The thing that's the least guaranteed is that I can get them back, because there's bookings all over the freaking world under a normal circumstance. And let alone if they get picked up by a bigger company or something like that. And I wouldn't want to get in the way of somebody getting a 6-figure deal from a large company. I mean, that's, we're not that. So I don't want to impede somebody's progress to advance in the world, in the business side of wrestling. But also, it's just, locking somebody down means you got to be able to follow through.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to, one of the problems with MMA has been at times is that fighters get into these contracts and they're just sitting around, and allowing them to go fight elsewhere, but yet still know that their contract exists would be advantageous to everybody, because everyone's able to still function on the business side of things. But then I wouldn't give a contract to somebody that I didn't believe in, right?
Yeah.
Like why would I tie them up if I don't have a real sincere want to develop that person if it's possible? So
is there can me and Bill just do commentary? I don't know that we're
now you say that. Now I've asked you about doing commentary.
You asked me the week before last time, and
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not able to do that this weekend.
Yeah,
I would love to do it. But notice.
I will say that there have been times where trying to arrange the commentary side of things, it was like kind of the last thing and the last piece in the puzzle we worked on. It was like, oh, fuck. So on this one, we have Max Bretos doing commentary, and he's an ESPN veteran. He does LA soccer. He's done Combate Americas. He's not completely green to all this, and it steps up the whole product itself. And I sit right alongside with them to give more of the intricate technical aspects of what's going on.
Can we just give Bill a Bloodsport contract and he has to fight random homeless people on the show and actually fight them to death?
I mean, I'm down for that.
I mean, I don't know. It seems like a winner.
Yeah. Look, guys, I'm just saying I'm a brilliant strategist when it comes to like Bloodsport's here, and here's the Bill Carr hobo fight. Winner gets to eat today.
Yeah, Bum Fight sold a lot of DVDs. What could I say?
Just saying, it did. I have another question from a fan. It's a comedian friend of mine who actually is a fan of yours, for the record, Mr. Barnett.
There's something wrong with him, clearly.
Yeah, he does have a drinking problem. Brian McKenna asks, what UFC fighter would have been a good pro wrestler, excluding Brock Lesnar for the obvious reason?
Right.
Or which one would be a dog shit pro wrestler? Because I want to know both sides of that.
Oh, man. What UFC fighter would have been a good pro wrestler? That's a good question. There hasn't been a lot of transition. And the phrasing of that question actually makes me feel like what he's asking is if they didn't go one way and they went the other. So they didn't become an MMA fighter and instead became a professional wrestler. If that's not what they meant, well then
it's whatever. We translate the question as we do.
Yeah, I think King Mo would have always been potentially a decent pro wrestler, but and we can't say Dan Severn because he was pro wrestling before he even went to the UFC. Mm-hmm. Shit, it's really kind of hard to think of who that would be. Can't use Vegeta either.
What about McGregor?
Yeah, I would say yes, but I mean, even for, well, I guess guys are a lot smaller now in professional wrestling, but I'm thinking of the larger guys. Forrest Griffin would have been a decent pro wrestler.
Oh yeah,
I think he's a very smart guy, and he very clever on his feet. So I think that could go a long way.
And who'd be the worst?
As for guy dog shit, fuck, man, practically all of them. I mean, really, like it's
the
like,
fact it took you so long to find one let me believe that you think all of them would be shit wrestlers.
oh man, they would just be so caught up on like, well, I'm not putting that guy over, or just they have. I think part of the problem is that they're sort of poisoned on the idea of what they think professional wrestling is. And so as soon as you bring it up to them, you watch them start goofing off. You're like, oh wow, this is the drizzling shit.
Yeah,
this
you don't
is the
get
worst
it.
I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's a
this is horrible.
sociopath pro wrestling. That's what I call it. It's sociopath.
Watching Tito Ortiz, the first time he ever, I don't know, maybe it was the only time, he was supposed to be a special referee for a match in Impact on TNA back in the day. And I remember seeing the clip somewhere, and there's, you know, just a bunch of jaw-jacking in the ring, and then there's supposed to be like a little clash, and then, you know, Tito's gonna come out on top. Well, it's with like Nash and someone else, and so the little cluster happens, but then Tito's like utterly lost. As soon as whatever was supposed to happen happened, he just looked, and then of course Nash doesn't lay there the whole time, gets up, and now Tito's even more confused, and he cut like the worst promo you ever heard, which not surprising if you've ever listened to Tito cut promos in general, but or seen his commentary or interview skills or spoke. But in any case, it was just, and in this case, it isn't even anti-Tito in any way. It's just that he didn't really understand what was going to be needed and how things could unfold in the wrestling ring. And so as soon as, oh, well, your part only goes to here. It's like if you did improv and then, or you had structure and then you went to improv, and then as soon as the improv hit, you were just like, what are my lines? It's like, whatever the fuck you want them to be, dumb fuck. You already know what you're supposed to do.
Be the goddamn character.
Yeah, but it's not, it doesn't necessarily come natural to people. And so
his debut was painful.
You're watching him just like freak the fuck out. And all I could think of is, oh man, the boys are having the way with them right now. They're going to be in the locker room laughing their ass off.
There was when he walked out on the pay-per-view and he walked in, like there was one pay-per-view that ended with Tito walking to the ring, and he just stood there and looked around, and the announcers are like, it's Tito Ortiz, and they're like hyping it up, but like there was no build to that Tito could be showing up. So all the fans were just like, I don't know who this guy is. Like they were like, he doesn't, nothing against Tito Ortiz, like whatever, but honestly he doesn't look like a wrestling star. He looks like, it looks like a tough dude, you know what I mean? But like, he doesn't look like a pro wrestler walked in the room and it's like,
hey, he looks like some frat boy got lost on the way to his date rape, and you know.
Sure. That's why I'll leave that one alone.
Yeah, not all frat boys are horrible people, but we know the stereotype. In any case,
yeah.
Yeah, and like, it isn't really anti-Tito. It's just that it's way tougher than you think it is. And people get the idea they could just go out there and just, oh yeah, I just horse around. Like, no, it's not that at all. And in fact, if you go out there and you don't actually embody what it is that you're trying to do, none of it sells at all. Like, it just won't work.
The title of this video, by the way, is going to be UFC fighters could never be pro wrestlers, and it's going to be your quote. That's what I'm going to say. And that'll get all the likes and the comments and everything else. Bill, now
it's tougher than they think, but you know, what ones out there could be pro wrestlers? They're around. You know, Eric Spicely, he does professional wrestling.
He's a good dude.
Well, Kane got his feet wet a little bit, but you know, not much past a couple.
He got hurt, didn't he? He got hurt, and then like that was.
I have no idea, dude. I'm not sure, but and then you know, you got the Artists of Pain. I can't always remember their names off the top of my head. I'm gonna butcher his name, Gizem, and well, you know, they both come from amateur wrestling and or you know, MMA, and I thought they were fantastic as a tag team.
Authors of Pain. The
Authors of Pain, right? Okay.
Razor. I said Tokar and Razor when they first came out because I was a big Ninja Turtles 2 fan. But that's because one of their names is Razor, R-E-Z-R or whatever it was.
Yeah. Well, so one of them, Sonny, he's a former international level wrestler from Canada and freestyle, I believe, for Simon Fraser. And he knew a bunch of the girls that I worked with that were all Simon Fraser freestyle wrestlers. And then the other one, Gesem, he's Dutch, but I think he's from somewhere else. I only say from somewhere else because I'm afraid if I pick the wrong country, that will like make a whole
international
group of people
incident.
want to. Yeah, I don't want to do that. But anyways, but he was a serious fighter for Golden Glory out of the Netherlands, and then he got into professional wrestling, and I thought they did a fantastic job. So I mean, it can happen.
Now, do you also have a love for horror movies like Bill? Because I feel like you and Bill have a lot in common.
Come on, Bill. Didn't we talk horror movies? I know we had to talk horror movies. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I want to know, the two of you have to debate the following. 1977, two movies came out, Suspiria and House. Either of you know either of those movies, and do either of you? Because this is a question that we also.
Well, yeah, Suspiria for sure. House.
House.
Yeah,
House.
House.
H-A-U-S-E.
Is
That's the Japanese one.
Right. That was in 77.
That's what it's saying.
I thought that was like the 60s.
Yeah, I'm seeing.
Well, I would take Suspiria because I have a soft spot for the giallo and also especially the Italian cinema's use of color in general.
Yes, Suspiria is I think the blueprint for colors being used in movies. That was one of my favorite movies. The remake, on the other hand,
not good.
I hated every second of it.
Oh, you hated every second of the remake?
Well, here's the thing. It was like they took everything great about Suspiria, the music, the colors, and just completely did the opposite. Like when Tom York was announced that he was doing the score, I was expecting something decent. But I don't know. You just can't compare the original, even like what the Goblin is the band that did the original Suspiria, and it's one of the greatest soundtracks in my mind. So maybe I was just a little disappointed that it wasn't. Maybe I'll rewatch it. I don't know. We'll see.
It can be really tough to try and stack up against a previously known entity, especially that's so beloved for the reasons that it is. So I get that. I mean, I had a person who was a total noob watch it, and they were just like, "What the fuck?" Right? And so I felt like the surrealism elements, the sort of dark brooding threat underneath the surface of all time, and then even just like the open, like, oh yeah, we're just witches, and yet even that turns into something towards the end that's like nobody gets it the way they think they're gonna, which is pretty good.
Yeah. The end of that movie I loved. The end of it was just batshit crazy, and I loved every second of that.
Yeah, but it's definitely a vast difference from just running down the hallway of the dorm and just opening the door and just what? You just ran through a door and fell into what the hell room is that? There's just an empty room with a 10-foot drop full of barbed wire. Then how do you escape falling in barbed wire? As you guys would know from death matches, you writhe in it. If you ride, the more you ride in the barbed wire, the more you escape. Isn't that right, Bill?
That's what we found. That's what we found during our death match, is we destroyed our bodies because Bill forgot to clip it.
Yeah. Hey, there's no knock on Suspiria. I think it's a great film too. I like the remake as well, but I think for Argento, I would say, and maybe this is cliche, that Deep Profondo Rosso is probably his best stuff.
I would say so too.
Or Tenebrae. I really love Tenebrae. And the ending of Tenebrae is so like boom, explosive. The ending of Profondo Rosso obviously does kind of come out of nowhere a bit, but it's impactful in the overall tone and the plot of the movie. But the end of Tenebrae is like, oh shit, this is like going all out. It's not only is it like, here's the reveal, but then the reveal is like brutal as fuck.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's some scenes in that one that are unexpectedly gory and just insane. And I love every second of it. I'm a big fan of the Italian horror. I'm also a big fan of the Italian ripoff movies, which
So I've seen every Italian Road Warrior, Escape from New York, rip-off film that there is. I absolutely fucking love them. With one of my absolute favorites being, was it Rome 2080 or whatever, which is by Fulci.
Yes.
And that's brilliant. There's a section where it seems as though, so they had the Hammer, right? They had Fred Williamson. And he's playing his part, and then they make this assault onto the headquarters, and they're going through all this, and then all of a sudden Fred Williams' character's helmet's on the whole time with the visor down, and there's this whole section where you never see his face, and then later on in the film, like maybe another 10 minutes after all, this is in the climax, then it's like, oh, he shows up again. It's like, well, now you can see his face, because I guess they just lost him for a moment or what have you. By the way, so, and one of my other favorites of that rip-off cinema area, and I'm not, all the Escape from the Bronx stuff is great. And I even love the Enzo Castellari, the final Bronx Lotta Finale, which isn't even really all that related, but it's still a lot of fun. But I think that the New Barbarians is overlooked, and that one is so fucking fantastic. And I got a chance to meet Fred Williamson. I come up to him and I'm like, "You're a hell of a man. You done a hell of a lot of things. Incredible football player, obviously, and all the acting stuff. But I'm going to tell you, you were fantastic in the New Barbarians as what was the name of his character? I forget. But he shot exploding arrows, and I go." I don't think you're going to get anybody tell you about how they liked you in Whitefire or of these other weird old films. And he just looked at me like, okay, all right. And he tells me the story about, they called this dude Bomba or whatever on set for the New Barbarians, because anytime it was, hey, we need an explosion, this guy's like, oh, you want the explosion? Oh, I'm gonna give you it, and he would just explode the shit out of everything. This guy would blow everything up to a level that was beyond necessary, and so they're like, oh, okay, all right.
Is this the
guy.
New Spartans? Is that what we're talking about? The New Spartans?
New Spartans?
Yeah, he was in a movie, The New Spartans. His name was Lincoln Jefferson Washington the Fourth.
That wasn't it. No. The New Barbarians, he was called Kismet. Kismet. That was his character's name. Yes. The New Spartans is a movie about that's about cops, I think.
I'm looking right now because I was going through his IMDb to pull it out because I know him from from Dusk Till Dawn or whatever, but then I saw the New Spartans and I just started laughing my ass off because his name is Washington.
Yeah, he was Kismet or something. I think his name was Kismet in New Barbarians.
And by the way, in the New Spartans, there's a character named Big Dick McCracken. So here's what has to happen, and we need to get together and watch the New Spartans because that's all I want to see right now. It is an 8 out of 10 on IMDb.
It's one.
That would never lie.
Yeah, 8 out of 10 on IMDb. Bill.
I got a question for Bill. Original Maniac. Now I'm not going to make you compare original to the remake because no possibility. I'm sorry. There's no arguments that can be made. But do you feel that the remake of Maniac delivered in telling the story and updating it a bit to a different location and time?
Yes, I do agree with that. And I also think that Elijah Wood did a hell of a job. He, when he wants to be creepy, can be fucking creepy as hell.
Yes.
But I didn't hate the remake. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Again, because it was I went into it not expecting, the head being blown up by a fucking shotgun blast.
Right.
I knew that wasn't going to be it. So I didn't go into it with like super high expectations, but I wound up liking it a lot in the end. And I do agree that, updating it and putting a new location, everything definitely helped better with the story.
Yeah, in downtown LA and like not even far from where I used to live. In fact, where I was living probably when I watched it. Yeah, I could look out the window and I think, they must have either shot like that building or one block over. Yeah. Because they've got these little districts down there. And I have like the flower district, the garment district, and various stuff. So I was in one of the garment district buildings, I think it was, and it's just nondescript, and there's lots of them. And downtown LA at night can get still pretty creepy. And then the updated soundtrack that went with the whole thing, like this vibe fits with it all. The adjustments on the character, but that still kept all the same motivations. And the thing that I felt one of the most important parts about the original Maniac by Lustig's Maniac is that not only is the movie feel vile when it needs to feel vile, like it has a tone, a color wash to it, just that makes it's like, this is nasty, right? This is, and the kills are brutal. It pulls you into what's nasty is nasty, but that the character has a sympathetic element to him who genuinely doesn't want to be nasty, wants to have love in his life, wants to actually connect with women in a healthy and secure way. And there's this segue where he finds this relationship and he's actually trying to overcome his own his own abuses and childhood and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, oh, well, it's a multi-layered character in a lot of ways, but it's, and I felt like Elijah Wood delivered on the tortured antagonist, protagonist, kind of both person in the same way. And where there was these pure, sincere elements to the character that were actually at odds with him in the movie as the character and as you as the viewer with the way they interact. And I actually got to meet Elijah Wood once. That's a story for another day. And he made me cheeseburgers at his house. They were good cheeseburgers. And I got to talk to him for a second. I was like, hey, dude, I thought your remake of Maniac really hit the nail on the head and it was really faithful to the original. And I felt like it was a proper updating, but without trying to overtake or replace or anything. I thought you did a killer job. And he was like, thank you. I was really happy with that movie and it was really important to me. Like, thank you, as I eat your cheeseburger.
Now, why weren't we invited to that party? That's what I gotta know. Because I gotta talk to him about, him being a hooligan. There's a lot of things I gotta talk to Elijah Woods about.
Well, I mean, the carrier pigeon might have got lost in the mail.
Yeah, son of a bitch. That goddamn pigeon.
It happens.
Thatcher ate it again, didn't he?
Probably.
Oh, Lord. So I have a question. I know you guys are big death metal fans. Bill and I, and you're both movie fans, and I figured maybe you've seen this movie. I don't know if you have. Bill and I went to see a movie about a death metal band or black metal band. The movie was called Lords of Chaos.
Lords of Chaos, yeah.
Thoughts?
I like it, but I'm not going into Lords of Chaos trying to be like, well, I don't think that happened exactly like this, and me, and all that kind of stuff. And I also found it mildly amusing that Varg was upset about the casting choice.
Oh yeah.
But
they just made him out to be such a pussy. I loved it.
Oh, it's kind of, he's like, and he's a chubby, and the rest of other Varg stuff.
That's my favorite part about it, is that like they weren't portrayed like they are this like iconic sort of black metal band, but in the same token, it's like, yeah, but like really, they also were this. It's like they were.
I mean, it's not entirely accurate, and even Jonas Ackerlund says in the beginning of the movie, in the little type that shows up, he's like, well, there's fiction, and I felt like it was a decent way of trying to present that story to the world in a film concept, but. I'm sure at deep down, a lot of these dudes were nerds, but they're also, I mean, one thing that maybe doesn't come across is that even Varg and the burnings and there were some people that this is serious to them. This is not a joke.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know exactly what happened when he went to Euronymous' place, and I don't know exactly how I think, to my understanding, is that Euronymous was not really as like cult as he was always trying to portray himself to be, and then realized that something came with that was perhaps something that he didn't really want to deal with. But at the end of the day, I mean, black metal's foundational ethos can be kind of frightening. So I felt like if you could get that point across, that it would be important.
Yeah, if there's a great half-hour documentary on YouTube, if you've never seen it, with I think it's from Vice, and they go to interview Gall. And,
that's a pretty good one, yeah.
I mean he's a scary dude. He's he looks like a vampire is what he looks like. But this yes. But this documentary, I think one of the crew members like halfway through was like, listen, I can't do this anymore. Like this is
that's the thing about the documentary that to me is the unintended humor of it all is like how much the people doing the documentary suck. How like giant pussies and just shitty, sucky, wimpy, just like, why are you even here? Or you're not. And it seemed as though like the odd responses that you're getting from Gall are mostly in response to them being such morons and asking the stupidest questions and absolutely not engaging him in any way that is intellectually stimulating, similar to this. So
thanks, man. Appreciate it.
But yeah, so Gall, of all things, the gall of him is he goes and he wants to take them up on this hike on this mountain to show them this cabin that his great great grandfather built or something. And the guy's like crying, I'm gonna die. I don't know if I can. And he's just being just a giant pile of shit. And to me, at the end of the day, you see what this all leads to, and you go, what a disrespectful fucking asshole this kid is, because through all your dumb shit that you bothered this guy about, right? Although thankfully we got some great memes and gifs, but he opened up something deeply personal to you from his lineage, of his familial lineage. And all you could think about was crybaby bullshit about how it's cold and whatever. It's like, this is why he wants to kill you.
Yeah. And I honestly, watching it, I wouldn't have been surprised if something violent did happen. If he did decide to just, you know what, fuck this, I'm gonna tie you down in a chair and bleed you out like he did that one guy.
Right, exactly. But if you can get Andy on the show, God, he's got stories for days, and he's a far superior storyteller than I am. But telling me about playing this festival and Iron Maiden's headlining, and Andy is, I think he's like in the door of his dressing room or their green room or something, and he sees Gall like just kind of running down the hallway all giddy and happy, and Andy sees him and he just goes, Iron Maiden is playing, and he just keeps going.
God.
And here's the thing, both me and Andy were like, justified.
Yeah.
If Iron Maiden's playing, we're like, Iron Maiden's, we're all that way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know,
I feel about Hootie and the Blowfish. I get it, man.
Just level. Hootie now, though, right? Just Hootie.
Just no, it's not even there. You know, maybe he was the Blowfish. I don't know. Perfect. All right, we can wrap here. We can go. We can. It's been an hour. We can hang out on the Zoom and keep talking, but podcast we generally keep to about an hour.
All right. Yeah.
Josh, we're gonna put over our stuff, then we're gonna put over your stuff, or you put over your stuff. So the Dan Barry on Twitter, at WWE Dutch on Twitter. You can go to our prowrestlingtees.com/Team Tremendous, buy some merch. Bill, what do you want to put over?
I'm gonna put over what I'm drinking right now. What I've been drinking this whole podcast is Josh Barnett's own Warbringer, fucking delicious goddamn bourbon here. I'm waiting for another batch because this bottle is almost done. I'm savoring it because it's so delicious.
You know a couple people that have bottles of that whiskey?
Who's that?
Corpse Grinder.
Fuck
and
yes.
King Diamond.
Fuck yeah. And me.
And Elijah.
And you.
Yeah.
And you. I went back to because that initial order, there was like a glitch thing, and you ended up getting sent standard Warbringer, the blend.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh well, we'll sort that out. And then of course you get sent the War Master edition. And then we're just like, just keep the other one. And I went back to our head distiller and everyone. I said, look, my buddy, he loves a good bourbon. And not only did he give incredibly high praise for our blend, but the War Master edition, he's like, this is some of the best whiskey I've ever had in my life. And so they're just going, oh, that's awesome. I go, yeah, I'm pretty proud of it, but I love to hear people enjoying it so much.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's honestly, it's my favorite whiskey that I have right now.
Didn't we
And
have that? Did we have that Royal Rumble bill?
no, I didn't tell anybody
Oh,
about it because I just keep it to myself.
you're a prick. What did you want? I don't even know what swill you gave me then.
Do you like smoked whiskey at all, Dan?
Yeah. I'm a
Okay.
whiskey drinker. Yeah.
Yeah, well then, this is mesquite smoke, so it's quite a bit different from peat. Think more closer to mezcal in terms of that smoke profile, but it's chewy. It's got like it's got a great long finish. There's elements of you'll get tobacco leaf and leather and like the ash, and then you'll get dark cherry and dark chocolate and some bit of mint, and as well as I've found anise at times, like licorice, and also maybe like root beer, all kind of,
It's all blended in.
all blended in,
Look.
and it goes from one thing to the next on the palate, it just keeps going.
It's awesome.
Long
Yeah.
finish.
Plus,
So-
it's what is this? 117 proof, I think.
100 the first batch was 109, second batch 114 and a half.
114. Okay, that's a 4. Yep.
I believe you have barrel 2 or batch 2, we call it, which is actually, I think you have batch 2, which is barrel 8. And batch 2 had a massive dark chocolate element on the nose and in the finish.
Yeah, because I remember I talked to you. I was comparing both because I still had a little bit left of the first batch, and I think the second batch is better in my opinion. I like it a lot more. The first one's still delicious too, but yeah, you can definitely taste the differences between the two.
Yeah, and being a single barrel product, that's always going to be the case. It's always going to be a little bit different.
Look, let's just all get together and let's just drink some whiskey and just talk about, you guys talk about death metal and movies, and I'll just chime in with Elton John lyrics every now and then. Josh, what do you want to put over?
I like to put over Team Tremendous, to be perfectly honest. They're great guys. We always have a blast. You're always doing cool stuff, and I love that you guys are doing a podcast because a lot of things in between the two of you to put out there into the world. A lot of great conversations. And then I guess at Josh L. Barnett on Twitter and Instagram. And then there's a Josh Barnett official on Facebook. And then we've got all the Josh Barnett Bloodsport pages as well. And basically, we're all trying to keep you all as in the loop as possible with Bloodsport 5, which is coming up here. Bloodsport 4 just happened last weekend, but it's still available up on bloodsport.watch to be ordered. You can also order a VIP package. It comes with an exclusive t-shirt, and you can also order both programs for a discount. Now, Bloodsport 5 has John Moxley versus Davey Boy Smith Jr. And Tom Lawler versus Jeff Cobb.
Oh, awesome. I love Cobb. He's the best dude in the world. He's my favorite.
Great guy.
All right, we'll stop recording. We'll talk more about other things that are probably too offensive for podcasts. Guys, thank you so much for listening. And see ya.
See you later.